Blessings and welcome forward once again to Reasonings right here at the Tree of Life, you know. And I want to give thanks to all the people who have been leaving comments and have been asking questions and making suggestions, right? And I also want to thank, like, within my own group, you know, the people who just through time and space have come forward against with Tree of Life. So today I want to big up Shrimpy Clark, you know what I mean? Yeah, because you don't know, say, you know, it's a youth where we don't know. It's a master boxer. And him have a son, you understand me? I will call him Shrimpy same way, you know? We don't know, so I big up Kafari more. It's a Shrimpy Clark youth, you understand me? So I big up Shrimpy Clark and him youth, you understand me? Yeah, so I big up, you don't know, Kafari more same way. Big up yourself, Shrimpy, respect and honor. I big up Shankman, we don't see for a long time to forward in with us today. We're also bigging up also the brother Bob, you know, Bob the Mystic right here, Raman as well too, and also all of the Tree of Life scattered around the college. This current topic I'm going to give a little offering on is in response to a question asked by one of the viewers that was left on the channel. To show that we are truly being interactive, here we go. The Zodiac. No. The Zodiac. It is a vast storehouse of information. Some almost want to say like none to the Akashic records. Make this or not, I wouldn't postulate in such manner. But I will say this though. The Zodiac is not a religion, nor a religious purview on life. If anything, it is a psychic, psychological, and even an elemental with a twinge of astral view on the human physiology, biology, and cosmology. Now, Christian-minded people are very much afraid of any notion or anything that relates to Zodiac. But we can break down the Zodiacs in some of its, remember we're not an expert, in some of its tenets, as how it's presented in intellectual circles, or certainly in some of the circles of information. Now, the Zodiacs represents to some degree, in the West, the seasons, the equinoxes, the ecliptics, and they also represent what we call the solstices, right? They also represent the monthly cycles. So we have psychologically represented them as animals, right? They also represent epochs or eras in time. Like for instance, Moses, the time of Moses is the age of Aries, the ram. The time of Christ is the age of Pisces, the two fishes, you know, going both opposite directions. And we're going into the age of Aquarius, the water bearer, pouring from his pitcher of knowledge, right? So the Zodiac in terms of elemental, cosmological, astrological, a view of the monthly cycles, the equinoxes, the solstices, the ecliptical, and seasonal cycles in human consciousness. Wally, like I said, it's a lot of stuff, not a religion. Many people point to the esoteric uses of the information contained in the Zodiac. I wouldn't deny that it has been widely used by esotericians or whatever they call themselves, right? There are many coded sets of information because part of the elemental nature of the Zodiac is that it is divided into the water, the earth, the air, and the fire. So some of us are born in the house of water, in the house of air, in the house of earth, and the house of fire. Now in Chinese elemental medicine, far has to do with the season, though their astrological chart has different animals and they use different things to represent the crooks and the zodiacs and the ecliptics and the seasons and the epochs. But in their elemental charts, health and unhealthiness is based on disparities within your elements. So it is said if your 4 elements are out of order, it usually means that you're going to die. If one of your elements is out of order, usually part of the remedy is bringing it back in sequence in order or addressing something in the opposite balance like air and maybe fire or earth and water or fire and water, earth and air, is to use this opposite balance to recalibrate. That is also based upon the zodiac. Now let's look at it in a sense where we can make a little bit of spiritual but somewhat scientific and somewhat natural sense of it all that, preamble. The elemental leads into the psychological, as to how most people use it, is to say that if I am born, let's say in April and I'm Aries, it presupposes that I have a set of psychological behavior, especially in the West. In the East it would say, if I am born under this particular cycle, it means elementally I'm either earth, I'm a little metal, I'm a little wood, I'm a little air, I'm a little fire, I'm a little water, right? It goes in to show the predominant elements which reigned in the cosmos at the time of your birth. The particular elements, whether silica, whether gold, whether argon, whether, what's a gas, right? Whether they're all there, right? Whether cadmium, whatever the elements were that were predominant in the cosmic, you are said to engender them in your very being. Especially during the time of conception. That's why when you're conceived, it's a back check into when you're born and your birth date. So when you were conceived, the elements that are around your parents at the time, they say it has an influence. From this gleamed influence, sorcery in a lot of sense were born or were enhanced by the understanding of the movements of the heavenly bodies and the elemental shift in mercury, in all the gases and all of the elements in the body. And how it is then that one can then, through certain additions to one's diet, to one's environment, offset one's biological matrix to throw you out of sync with the elements. So sorcery was one of those things that were fed by the understanding of the movement of the heavenly bodies and the zodiac. But remember also I said that there is the epoch information stream also coming, that there are ages coded in the zodiac. That certain epochs suggest certain ways in which we process information and how we experience information, and certain ages suggest how we will advance information. Hence this information age, said to be the forebearer, or the first steps rather, into Aquarius. The zodiac is seen as a storage house of psychic information, like I said, like none to the Akashic. If people, through these malevolence, but let's switch it from the malevolence to the benevolence, through the benevolent understanding of your elemental chart, many people have fashioned diets that is properly in sync with your nature. There are many teachers who have taught me, have shown me how it is that each season of the new flu strains cosmically is offset by the fruits that also come in that season. That the complexes in the B vitamin, the C and E vitamins, these great modifications literally come in the cosmic when the environment is harmonious, matching the flu strains. So eating an orange or eating a high vitamin C concentrate fruit would give you resistance to the flu strain, showing the cosmos having a most amazing impact upon the way you are, your way of being. So through the zodiac, many beings have singularized their elemental charts. That's how they know how to wear certain stones. Because in the elemental now, they begin to understand that these stones contain some of the vibratory elements that truly balances or enhances their synthetic, their parasympathetic and their sympathetic systems of energy. They begin to understand that this vibratory cosmic connection through the elements is harmonizing them. So the zodiac wheel of fortune, of karma, being used to not only suggest to tell your fortune, but in a slicker way to examine your vibratory nature, to really look through your eyes and your skin to see if you are truly deficient in some minerals. Because those deficiency in these minerals leads to hallucination and an improper processing of the cosmic or the parasynthetic and the synthetic energy systems that run through the emotional body. Those are most times confused if one isn't truly in tune. Now, out of this cosmic, somewhat celestial understanding, like I said, philosophies have been born where sorcerers and sublettings of sorcerers and sorceresses and these little occults have used certain astrological events to create trance, and to use this trance or this trance-like state to somewhat go further in time to reach states of information that they deem will help their causes. So a lot of rituals happens on certain alignments in the zodiac, in the astral, and sequences of it. That's why you have epochs like Age of the Ram, Age of Pisces, Age of Aquarius. You can go on the Sagittarius. You know, they all go on in sequence, right? So in that understanding, one can see that somewhat numerology and a lot of these psychic sciences intertwine with these versions, these visions, these notions people have of the heavenly bodies, their astrological and their magnetic effect upon the human beings during their particular solstice and their particular equinoxes. So that is why some moon or some sequences in the moon are said to bring out more of a particular mineral, of a particular element in the being, of a particular darkening or a lessening of a certain responsiveness within the being, or a certain nulling or dulling down of your perceptivity, because maybe you have too much lead in your energy field. Maybe you have too much of the toxic minerals that really causes more of your hallucination more than your lucidity. So the zodiac is not a religion. Like unto the Akashic Records, as I said, it can be a psychic storehouse. Traverse it technically. The Most High God is your guide and shield. He is your whole armor. These things are likened unto information. If it becomes necessary that you should need this information, by all means, channel the information for your well-being. Use it to understand how to situate yourself, to center yourself in the experiences you're having. It's a technical way of looking at how we are together along these innumerable eons of time. These visionaries, these soothsayers, these men of renown, women of renown, looking up at the heavenly bodies, seeing their fixed positions, making their magnetic compasses, measuring land to sea navigations because of them, but also asserting in some of the new age a fortune telling premise in them, looking through the zodiacs, reading your palms, all these telemetric, telekinetic, these sensory esoteric views evoked through this understanding and the use of the knowledge and the information contained in the zodiac. People use this same information not just to engender fortune and tell you of what your destiny entails, they also use it to predict crop cycles and seasons. So as to foretell in a sense, not just in the fortune teller sense, but in the sense of a projection for agriculture, a projection for rainfall, a projection for, you know, good, happy, balanced, elemental growth in the biological and in the natural environment. And also, yeah, presupposes that leads over also into the psychic environment. Putting them together, you begin to see through the ages into the present, how the zodiac has been used both on the positive and on the negative, how the ages and the epochs come together from the age of the Ram to the age of Aquarius, how it is that the ecliptics are connected with sequences within a 3-month or 4-month cycle, whether along the elemental charts of fire, air, earth, or water, and how these affect a newborn upon birth and upon the conception of the newborn, mother and father's biology, and also mother and father's birth signs, or it also feeds into numerology and all these psychic sciences that at times, when used in the wrong sense, interfere with our vibratory matter and the internal electromagnetic systems that run our being. These leads on to spells, incantations, and a lot of things. But just knowing oneself, being in tune with oneself, understanding that also the zodiac can show you through your elemental and your biological how to eat the right things. Your body tells you by rejecting that which it doesn't need, but at the next time consuming it because it needs the minerals, right? The salts and all of the flavonoids and also all of the elements it truly genuinely needs in terms of the bionutrients, right? And at that most elemental level, you know your body has that biometric cosmic alignment. The biometrics indices are real. Start reading them in terms of your emotions and of your desires and your biological habits. Train yourself to be in tune. Understand how it is that all this information can keep you having the proper electrolytes, the proper alkaline in your bloodstream to dilute the acidity and also to create more lucidity and reduce confusion and the toxicity on the brain or electromagnetic storms on the brain, right? So all the crystals, all the prayer, and all the other healing arts, knowing when you're most open in your chakras, knowing when your chakras are most aligned in the cosmic, knowing then to do your prayer rites, your mystical clearance rites, because these will balance you against the magic rites that others are doing, against the sorcery rites they're doing. That is why your date of birth and all these things are asked for from many of organizations. Many people want to know. It's a way to exact a certain psychological understanding of who you are, and to a greater degree, in the darker sense, a spiritual template of who you are, to attack you, to know what elements to distort in your being. That is how you have likes and dislikes, weaknesses and strengths, because the weaknesses and strengths are increased again based upon the elemental balance or discordance in your being. And those who know how to strike that imbalance strikes at you. Seek through the divine Christ how to reestablish balance, right? Learn the mastery of these sciences if needs be, right? For your own well-being. Channel the highest cause in the divine Christ, seeking always your highest well-being. This is Jerome Sage Butler, yeah, right here at the Tree of Life, yeah, reminding you that you are a definite blessing to yourself and a blessing to your cosmic enterprise and your cosmic experience. I hope I've shed some light or added a word to it. A symbol really means block of information, right? So if you're getting a symbolic knowledge, a lot of it is said to be, you know, esoteric, because it's like a sigil, it amasses a lot of information, like base 10 numerology sequences in mathematics and such, and a lot of these, you know, variables in odd maths and such, and quantum mechanics and quantum physics. So they all go back to understanding the alignments of heavenly bodies and their connection with us, not just now but also in the future, and also they follow the movements of the so-called heavenly bodies as well too, and also their effects, you know, upon masses of people. So in a lot of sense, the esoteric knowledge could be attributed to a lot of fallen angels who have great understanding of this information.
You know what, when I watch what you tell and when I watch what 9 are getting different information internally, Aries and all of that. When I come here and research that them are tired, how them are manipulate that person. When I find my own person, but you have to use that right now. You have to use that old version manipulate for them person.
Well, because again, you know, it's what it suggests, you know. Then if they determine the narrative, right, and they tell you that being born in this particular time of the year means that you are tends to a more aggressive behavior, or to tend to a more introverted behavior, right, or versus an extroverted behavior, then they are suggesting in a subtle way, maybe through auto-suggestion, that masses of people who are born on this day, under this sign, under these particular sequences in the ecliptic, are tending to be more intellectually verbose or intellectually dulled or lulled, right? Now, these might be experimental ideologies, but they are long been expressed ways of assessing future experiences, of learning how to control possible tyrants, people who are organizing movements against major ideologies and major status quo. The same zodiac-based information that shows when a person is born, what is the major elemental makeup in that person. A lot of that information goes into the approaches your enemy, especially if it's an organized entity, takes in destroying you or in its attempt to destroy you. It uses that information because it really comes back to that suggestion that is made, and how that suggestion and how it is examined over time, that people are born this time of the year tend to have either one or two, the heightened or the lessened behavior, and those caught in between, and how it is that you can deal with a person, especially in the context of an enemy, based upon one of these behaviors, based upon the elemental charts or your view of the elemental charts. You know the kind of food to serve at a dinner to subvert the person's lucidity. You know the kind of colors to wear in a confrontation, like in a debate, because this information goes back to deeper, subtler esoterics. And don't believe the modern don't use it, it is used.
And that is at a point, because when I born, dictate what they say, April 23rd, 1990, for them time and calendar and the Babylon word, them quick for them machine before I come here. When I come here within the light, I remember a different time, a different year. I'm born 1980. But them send a different information to so when you're born,
that is
are not really nice. It's a different people. That's why you find your two families in a different world.
That is a.
Can I look at this? Oh my God!
That is again how a lot of people say when you go through the cosmic information or the zodiac information, you find that some people tend to go to numerology now. Numerology tend to open up number sequences and the idea of number power, or what a number says about your frequency, your vibrational frequency, right? So that is why part of how you codify the understanding of this zodiac information is you brought it down now to a number sequence, and saying that these numbers now suggest a certain resonance. So people who then tend to go for power, who tend to yearn for certain things, who they tend to say are egotists or ego trippers or leaders, they tend to, a lot of them tend to be, they said to be number ones, right? And them say 1 is like a symbolic of a phallic, and while 7 is said to be a universal number of maybe being more of the cosmic then. You want more harmony, you're offering more information that is of a collective value versus of a personal value, right?
Right.
My particular number, in terms of the number of my birth number, suggests a certain balanced viewpoint. It says I have an equally balanced viewpoint. And I don't know if I have an equally balanced viewpoint. I don't know if that's what the suggestion is. But if it is, let's see, maybe I'm working towards it or it's working in me. I don't know. But then again, I remember once I had a girlfriend who told me she had a psychic friend. I said, okay, because I've had these experiences, right? I didn't necessarily want to shun, because in this world, you know, if people say that you're on the spiritual path and then you begin to shun what you don't know or that you have not greatly experienced, it shows you to be really afraid and a prude and maybe even just a tad bit self-righteous. So I said, okay, what does this psychic say? He asked, what day you're born? So I said, it's no big deal. You can go on my page, you can see it. It's on everybody's page, right? If you're telling the truth. So she tells him. I said, tell him. So she tells him. Now, he now begins to go through this list of stuff he sends to me, right? Now when I read this stuff, one can suggest maybe my girlfriend had this long, great conversation with this guy. But from just that this number sequence, and when I was born, what time I born in the year, the man had a pretty accurate, I would say, overall purview. Not necessarily forms my activities took, but a purview that permeated a lot of them. Was this purely an accident? Is this purely some deep, you know call it again, hocus pocus? No. Because imbued in these numbers, through their understanding of the elements, is psychic energy. Some of the things that I have battled a lot in my life are based upon my birth star, the number, the sequences, the time in the year, as how it has come elementally. Does it totally determine my being? No. I think that is why it has somewhat of an effect, but not a wholly wholesome effect, right? That's why it's not a religion, because it in of itself cannot deliver you from nothing. But what I have learned from it is that because others use this information and can clearly glean your behavioral ethics in a lot of ways, or at least an overview of it, you are potentially at risk from a remote site, believe me. So to shield oneself is also contained in a lot of this information. We're understanding the right colors to wear, the right manner of dress, the right manner of speech. These things help to protect you from these psychic energies that are projected on a spectrum towards you. The zodiac, through its many psychic sciences which are engendered from it, which are rooted in it or lean on it or is directed towards it for some kind of understanding or some kind of impinging, characteristic or some kind of footing. It isn't necessarily the whole spectrum of esoterics or of even sorcery. Far from it. So then again, I see it as an information house, and many teachers have suggested that a lot of the information contained has been engendered in us by fallen angels, right? I would concur that in many of these secret organizations, there's almost allusions to this as being a fact. That the same symbolic what you're talking about, Bob, that symbols are blocks of thoughts that are contained. That instead of you need to think these 3,000, 10,000, 20,000 thoughts that will lead to a certain frequency, like the number sequences in the base 10 matrices, right? You don't have to think all of that. You can amass it all and encapsulate it in a symbol. And this symbolic knowledge, sigil magic, symbolic language, is a lot of times permeates and permeating through the zodiac and people's use of it and people's use of the charts that are created from it. So, in wiseness, use these things like the word that say, give unto Caesar what are Caesar's, unto the Lord what are the Lord's. You cannot be devout unto these things. These things are technical, scientific application of psychic thoughts. And hence, they don't always have a wholesome effect. Because some people are whole. And that craziness don't shake people. Some people, you can't bring that to them. It won't work. Greater than that. Shook them, shook that. Cut that, don't work. So, and it's based upon their frequency, based upon the level that they are vibrating.
At that point, we just remember the three wise men.
Yes.
They follow the star of Christ, but they know the Astral.
Yes.
And know when Christ comes.
Yes, because as you're saying, the so-called three wise men from the east, some say rishis from India, wherever they're coming from, right? These three wise men, as it's alluded to, were said to have followed the stars. Just like in the days of Herod, just like in the days of Moses, the same notion of following the stars, leading to where the Christ is, or the birth of the Christ. That this foretells that the astrological has something to do with the cosmic and the biological. Raman, I couldn't say a greater point to contextualize that in Christendom. That the wise men, according to the Bible, knew of the birth of the Messiah based upon an astrological alignment. Zodiac, cosmic.
But the other point, true enough, because you know your own birth before you go to your mother room, before you can know your after travel to the cosmos, before you reach that plane and the earth plane.
Yeah.
And Christ himself travel, and the wise men know that he himself connected the astral connection and telepathic is not.
It's like an astral footprint then, or an astral trail. That if the light has passed along this path, everywhere the light passes, someone will know. Because, and if the light is projected to be here, then the signs of it, its presence or its coming or its impending arrival is evident. It's like the very same notion of the trumpet sounding up before the day of judgment. Or even some people saying that they heard a trumpet close up on the point before they died, right? As in like a final epitaph, as if it is written in the stars, as it is written in your heart, in our heart chakras. And through that is how we decode all of these records, be they zodiac, cosmic, akashic, mental, emotional, because the Christ has reminded us, the second Adam, or Elisha, that we have dominion over this plane. So because humans have attached meanings to these things, have sought meaning through them and have sought many applications with them, to some degree they have become applicable and have led to many a turmoil and sometimes tragedy and sometimes pointing the way towards salvation. Yeah man, check it. Yeah.
You think that time our ancestors used one symbol?
Say it again?
Our ancestors used to use like one symbol, one
Yes.
sign, symbol and a sign, whatever we call it, to describe a soul.
Yes. One symbol to describe a thousand thing. In antiquity.
A thousand words to
Yeah,
describe
the same thing, one thing. I like that. So a sharp man put it back in antiquity, our ancestors used one symbols to describe a thousand things. Blocks of thought, blocks of information. Versus now, in a modern age, 1,000 words describing one thing. This has been Jerome Sage Butler, Astral Life. Just reasoning on the Zodiac, sparking a second round in clarity with my brethren Bob the Mystic, Raman, and Sharpman here today with us. You know what I mean? Astral Life, giving thanks and praising. Give thanks for the blessing that you are, you know what I mean? to yourself and to the whole of your family and your community. You know what I mean? And if you never know, say you have the blessing, well, you know now. So you can start to be that blessing. Or continue, because you don't do it, you don't even know. Right? So until next time, enough love and blessings.